a seat. If you'll turn and face the deputy and raise your right hand, he'll swear you in.
Yes, ma'am.
You swear to affirm to the testimony that you're about to give the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Have a seat. Please state and spell your full name for the court.
Detective Jarian Shepard. That's Jaronshepard.
Detective Shepard, where are you currently employed?
The Atlanta Police Department Homicide Unit.
And in what capacity?
I currently work within the Homicide Unit, our cold case and complex squad that we have within the unit.
How long have you been employed with the Atlanta Police Department?
Close to 23 years.
Okay. And can you describe your duties?
Yes, I primarily work cold case and complex cases within the homicide unit, whatever complex case comes up in the city limits of Atlanta, and of course cold cases.
Okay. How many homicide cases would you say you've worked at the city?
Close to 500.
All right. And if you could walk us through, how do you begin the process of receiving information on a case and then beginning the investigation?
So instead of a cold case, when a homicide comes in, of course we get the location, we verify the location, the venue, make sure it's inside the city limits of Atlanta. We respond to the scene, we make sure that scene is secure. We make sure the evidence has all been numbered and appropriately documented.
Okay. And what about what is considered a cold case?
When all investigative leads have been exhausted.
And what does that mean when you say investigative leads?
So, say for instance, witnesses, they've been spoken with. There's no leads on new witnesses. Evidence that's gone stale. Things of that nature make a case go cold.
Okay. Is there a specific unit at the Atlanta Police Department designated to look into cases that have been unsolved?
Yes, that's currently the cold case squad that I'm a part of.
Okay. And when did you become a part of that unit?
Within the cold case unit, I would say around 2020.
How many cases you currently assign?
Primarily, I'm close to 100 cases.
All right. And how do you determine which of your cases to prioritize in your cold case, the amount of cold cases that you have?
So, of course, we look at the solvability factors. We take a look at each case, determine what factors need to be looked at first. We make that a priority. In those cases, we do take a more in-depth look at.
Okay. And at the time you came into investigating this case, and we're talking about the State versus Christopher Wolfenbarger, were you knowledgeable about the previous investigation that had been done?
Correct.
What did you do to become familiar with the previous work that had been done on this case?
So the first thing I do when I get a cold case, I get the entire file. I look over the file, I read it, make copies of everything so I can make my personal notations, document all witnesses that are available. I make a priority list on who I need to interview, what I need to interview, make a list of the evidence that's available within the case, and also be sure to contact the original detective if he's available, he or she's available.
Okay. And who was the original detective on this case?
Detective Calhoun.
All right. All right. Did you meet with Detective Calhoun?
I did.
How many times throughout your investigation and after the case was indicted did you meet with Detective Calhoun?
Numerous times. We spoke on the phone. We met in person.
Okay. Did you review Detective Calhoun's reports that he wrote prior to his retirement?
I did, and I also summarized all of his case file, his notes. And of course, I like to always have the original detective read over it to make sure it's accurate.
Okay. Did you look into the background and lifestyle of Melissa Wolfenbarger?
I did.
And at the time you came into the investigation, did you have a suspect in mind, a person of interest?
Yes.
And who was that?
Christopher Wolfenbarger.
And was there anything about the background of Melissa Wolfenbarger and her lifestyle that led you to focus on Christopher Wolfenbarger?
Yes, they had a violent, tumultuous relationship between the two.
Where did you receive information, or where did you look to find information about the lifestyle of Melissa?
The first thing we like to look at is, of course, what's documented, police reports and things of that nature.
Did you speak to her relatives?
I did.
Did you attempt to locate and speak to people that were friends with Melissa?
Yes.
What about anyone that lived on the street or in the same area as the Brookline residents?
Yes.
Did you also look in to see if there were any previous state or criminal cases related to domestic violence?
Yes.
All right. And what in particular can you say about investigating homicide cases, in particular homicide cases where there might be domestic violence involved? What can you say, tell the jury about those types of investigations?
We come across those type of investigations often. They're also a result of some type of passion that includes jealousy and things of that nature. That's really what kind of resonates when it comes to domestic violence cases.
Okay. And are you familiar with domestic violence cases where there has been a case or a protective order that has been issued in connection with the case?
Correct, yes.
Is that something that happens often?
It is, especially when you have one partner that's very aggressive. And of course, the victim in that situation, if they're very afraid, and that's the one of the recourse that they can take.
Okay. Your Honor, at this time I have several self-authenticating documents I would tender into evidence at this time. I have Exhibit 24, which is a certified document of a petition seeking relief from family violence. That is, it states Exhibit 24.
Mr. McDermott? I'm sorry, Mr. Samuel?
No, we just reviewed them. We don't object to these documents.
Okay, thank you. Exhibit 24 is admitted.
Okay. I have Exhibit 26, it's a certified self-authenticating document. It is a Rule 9 Psi from that, setting that court date down. So it's Exhibit 26.
26 is admitted.
I have State's Exhibit 28. It is the state certified document. It is the actual formal motion to dead docket the case, a formal case, the battery case in March of 1999. And that is Exhibit 28.
Okay, no, there was no objection by the defense, so 28 is also admitted.
And I have printed out a copy of what was admitted yesterday, Exhibit 27. That's a self-authenticating document. It is the request for dismissal.
Right, it's already in evidence.
And that was
Exhibit
27.
27?
Yes,
sir.
All right. Okay, now, for the record, Detective Shepard, I'm going to publish what's been tendered and admitted as State's Exhibit 24. All right. Do you see that State's Exhibit?
Yes.
And what is that?
That looks like a protective order.
Okay. What is a protective order?
It's a temporary protective order. It's an order given by the court to the person that's seeking this order for some type of protection from the person that they're putting a TPO against. We call it TPO, a temporary protective order.
All right. Now, when you looked at the information, the notes, the summaries from Detective Calhoun, when you spoke with family and friends, were you aware that there was a July 21st, 1998 battery committed by this defendant against Melissa Wolfenbarger?
Yes,
Okay. Did you have a chance to look at the reports related to that?
I did.
Were you aware upon reviewing those reports that there were visible observed injuries to the person of Melissa Wolfenbarger?
Yes.
All right. At that point, were you concerned, or did you at least factor that this could be related to domestic violence?
Absolutely.
All right. Was that why Christopher Wolfenbarger was the primary suspect?
Yes.
And does it indicate on State's Exhibit 26 the marital status of Melissa Wolfenbarger's claim?
Yes, that she was married.
Okay. And does it also indicate living in the same household?
Yes.
Now, after a petition is ordered by the court, you're familiar with court dates that would be scheduled subsequent to that. Are you familiar with those court dates?
Yes.
Is that fairly common for a petitioner to file a complaint and then have a court order a date for that issue to be heard?
Yes, it's very common.
Okay. I am publishing State's Exhibit. Yeah, State's Exhibit 26. Can you tell the court what that is?
That's going to be the petition for court.
All right. Well, is that in fact the Rule 9 side setting it down to July 29th?
Correct.
Okay, that's 1998. So that would that have been the date that Melissa and the defendant would have showed up to, I guess, address whether or not there should have been a protective order in place. Is that correct?
Yes, correct.
All right. Now I'm going to publish State's Exhibit 27. Melissa and the defendant would have showed up to court
Yes, it is.
based on the previous paperwork.
Yes, it is.
All right. Now, is that the first time you've heard of where a petitioner would request for a case to be dismissed?
It's not that you don't see that often.
Okay. What about victims of domestic violence in cases that you investigated not wanting to proceed with the investigation, is that uncommon?
No, that's not uncommon.
What do you mean by that?
Usually when the victims of domestic violence, it's a pattern, a toxic pattern they fall back into with the person, with the abuser, and they usually fall right back into that pattern.
Okay. So when you see requests for dismissal, are you at this point, are you disregarding the possibility of there being ongoing domestic violence?
No, I'm not disregarding that at all.
Now, turn your attention to State's Exhibit 28. To the best of your knowledge, did that case involving this defendant for the July 1998 attack against Melissa Wolfenbarger, did that ever make its way to court?
No, it did not.
And do you know why?
She never showed up for court.
Okay. And referring you to State's Exhibit 28, do you see what's on that board?
Yes.
And can you read what is depicted in writing under the motion to death document?
It said unable to locate victim, warrant case, violation and probation for non-reporting.
Okay. And what date is that that document was signed?
March 15th, 1999.
Okay. Do you recall the date that, based on your investigation, that the head of Melissa Wolfenbarger was located across the Avon Avenue location?
I believe it's in April 99.
Okay, so that's after, roughly about a month after that.
Correct.
All right. A month after they had dismissed the case because they couldn't find her, essentially.
Correct.
Did you look into whether or not Melissa and the defendant had any children?
I did.
And what did your investigation reveal?
He had a boy. They had a boy together and a young female.
And what about living conditions? Where were the children living at the time of the death?
With Christopher's mother.
Did you actually make your way to the Avon Avenue location?
I did.
And did you go to the Brookline Street location?
I did.
All right. How many times have you gone out to that location?
Multiple times.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 76. Tell the court if you recognize that location.
Yes, it's an overall bird's eye view of the location where her head and extremities were found.
Okay. And specifically, is that an overall view of the Avon Avenue location?
Correct.
And is that an overall view of the location where Action Glass, the business, is located?
Correct.
And did you also, had you been to those locations, observing with your own eyes?
Yes.
Had you also actually gone and visited the residence at 824 Brookline Street, where the Wolfenbargers lived at during that period?
Yes.
And is that location depicted on that State's Exhibit 76 as well?
Yes, it's all contained in this photo.
All right. And the depiction listed on State's Exhibit 76, is it a fair and accurate representation of that area that contains the Avon Avenue location, Action Glass, and the 824 Brookline Street location?
Correct.
Your Honor, at this time, the State moved to tender in evidence State's Exhibit 76.
No objection.
Go ahead, submitted,
Permission to publish?
permission granted.
All right. Okay. Now, with the court's permission, Detective Shepard, you could point to the location where action glass is.
It's here.
All right. And significant evasion.
Up in the Brookline.
All right. And Brookline area, did you actually see the Brookline Street?
Correct.
All right. Now, did you actually yourself go to the locations where the head was located,
Yes, I did.
as well as the extremities?
Yes.
All right. In relationship to the job where Wolfenbarger worked and the residence, did you show the jury on the map where the head and extremities were located?
So action glass 858 Avon is here. The head was roughly here, and the extremities was located in this area.
And did you actually walk that location between where the head was located, the extremities, and action glass?
Yes.
Generally, can you talk as to how many feet, if you can recall that distance would be?
Maybe 30 feet.
All right. And did you drive that location from Action Glass to the 824 Brookline Street?
Yes.
And roughly how long of a drive is that?
Less than a minute.
Okay. Is that the geography, the location of the residence, the job, was that significant at all in your investigation?
Absolutely, it was significant.
And why is that?
It's all in close proximity to Christopher Wolfenbarger's work address, home address, and the location where we found everything.
Now, as far as the actual remains of Melissa Wolfenbarger that were located, you aware all of her remains were located?
Melissa's torso has never been found.
And did that, was there anything about that caused you to look into anything else in terms of this investigation?
It did. It raised a lot of suspicion because she was under the belief that she was pregnant.
Okay. And why was that significant in your investigation?
I thought it was significant because that's the only portion of her body that was never found.
Did you have evidence, or did you uncover in your investigation that Melissa Wolfenbarger was involved with another male at that time?
I did.
Did you know that person to be Thomas Dixon?
It is him, correct.
And did you receive any information during the course of your investigation that Christopher Wolfenbarger was aware of Thomas Dixon?
I did.
And what information did you receive?
Of course, Thomas Dixon stated it, but also Christopher admitted that she was possibly involved with the male.
Okay. Did he have any other information about that male that you may have been involved with other than the male?
That they worked in the same Waffle House?
Okay. Was that the information that led you to believe that it was Thomas Dixon?
Correct.
Was that impactful to you, the fact that the defendant was aware of who Melissa Wolfenbarger was seeing?
Yes, it was.
And why is that?
Because that, again, when I spoke about jealousy being a main component of domestic violence, that raised a red flag for me immediately.
Okay. All right. Now, you mentioned let me ask you this. is it significant at all for a homicide investigator to try to determine the cause of death?
It is significant.
Did you make an attempt to determine the cause of death in this case?
Yes.
And in doing that, did you observe the remains of Melissa Wolfenbarger?
I did.
Was there anything significant about the remains of Melissa Wolfenbarger that led you to look in any other directions during the course of your investigation?
No, her head was removed with a saw.
Okay. You mentioned a saw.
Correct.
All right. Is it your testimony that at some point a saw became important in your investigation?
It was very important in my investigation.
All right. Did you observe remains and what appeared to be marks on the remains?
Yes.
And at any point in your investigation, did you make an attempt to see if the defendant had been in possession of a saw at some point?
I did.
What efforts did you make to determine that?
I interviewed his former employers.
Okay. Who was that?
That's Mr. Brock at the Action Glass at 858 Avon
All right. Where did you interview them at?
in their residence.
Now, was that the only time that they had been interviewed by law enforcement?
No, during the early part of the investigation, they were interviewed by Detective Calhoun.
Okay. And you interviewed them again?
Correct.
Ronald Brock?
Yes.
Cindy Brock?
Yes.
And what was the purpose of you interviewing them?
We always like to follow up and tie up any loose ends, and significant enough time had passed, so I needed to follow up and make sure
Okay.
with that interview.
Did you inquire about Saul in particular on the date that you interviewed them when you went out?
I did.
Were they able to provide you information?
Yes.
What information did they provide you?
Hearsay, Your Honor, objection.
And in response to that, Judge,
Brock's?
yes,
Okay.
as it relates to Cindy Brock's statement, her statement in particular has been the foundation was laid, it was impeached, and that statement was played in front of the jury. So at this point, it's substantive evidence. It would be admissible.
I'm going to overrule the objection, Mr. Samuel.
And what did the Brock say?
Christopher was terminated because it was believed that he stole a saw, a reciprocal saw.
Okay. So they recalled the Saul.
Correct.
They recalled him, I guess, a belief at that time that he took it.
Correct.
And they also recalled never receiving the Saul back. Is that also correct?
Correct.
All right. And was that consistent with the remains that you observed of Melissa Wolfenbarger?
Yes, her limbs and her head were removed by saw because there were saw tool markings on those bones.
Now, you referenced an interview with this defendant. Well, a statement that he made.
Correct.
Where did that take place?
At his home.
Do you recall the time period of that interview?
It was early on when I got the case. I want to say it's back in 2021. It took place at his residence in Griffin, Georgia.
Okay. And would that have been roughly the same year you got assigned this case?
Correct.
All right. Who was present when that interview took place?
My supervisor at the time, Sergeant Layton.
So just yourself and Sergeant Layton?
Correct.
All right. Who was present at the residence of Christopher Wolfenbarger when you arrived?
It was a young lady who answered the door. I don't recall her name, but he described her as his wife, and just her and Christopher. I'm sorry.
All right. How long did that take place? The interview itself? Yes.
Approximately maybe an hour, a little bit over.
All right. And was this outside, inside? Where in the residence did this take place?
It was inside of his living room.
Okay. All right. So it's yourself, Sergeant Layton, and the defendant?
Correct.
All right. Was he willing to speak with you at that time?
Yes, he was.
All right. At any point, did you tell the defendant he was under arrest?
No point.
Did you have your cuffs out? Did you point a gun at him?
No, it was non-custodial.
Okay. And then so you never told the defendant that he wasn't free to leave?
Never.
Did you give him the impression that it wasn't voluntary what he was speaking to you. He didn't have a choice to voluntarily make a statement to you.
No, I did not give him that.
All right. And did you make an attempt to find out information about his wife's disappearance at the time you interviewed him?
Yes.
In particular, did you make an attempt to inquire as to why he didn't report his wife missing?
I did.
Was that when you were able to, I guess, get confirmation that he was aware of Thomas Dixon as well?
Correct.
And did you make an attempt to get information about whether the defendant was in possession of a saw at any point?
I did.
And did he speak to you about all those items?
Yes, he spoke to me about all of them.
So again, you what's been marked as State's Exhibits 30 and 38. Have you had an opportunity to look at these exhibits?
Yes, I have.
Okay. And specifically as to 30A, you looked at that exhibit?
Correct.
And what is that exhibit?
It's the interview, recorded interview with Christopher.
All right. On the date that you've been testifying to?
Yes, sir.
And is it a fair and accurate representation of the interview that took place on that day?
Yes.
All right. That's Exhibit 30. I have Exhibit 38. Have you had a chance to review and sign the back of this document as well?
Yes.
All right. And is this also an interview that you conducted with the defendant on the day you've been testifying to?
Correct.
All right. And is this also a fair and accurate representation of that interview that you conducted?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time, the state will move to tentative evidence, State's Exhibit 30, which is an interview conducted by Detective Shepard, and State's Exhibit 30A, which is a redacted interview by Detective Shepard.
Mr. Samuel?
We need to confirm the redaction, but no objection assuming that.
Okay. Exhibit 30 is admitted. Exhibit 30A is admitted subject to confirmed redactions.
Well, so 30 is not an evidence. 30A is.
He's offered it into evidence.
Can we approach?
Sure.
And for the record, Your Honor, this may be about 12 minutes just for timing purposes.
Okay.
Oh, you know what? Let me send it. I planned on it.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure because I need to give the jury just a little bit of instruction.
Yes.
Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, in just a moment, the state's going to play an audio recording that they've offered into evidence. You will likely notice, I think you've heard me and the lawyers mention some redactions. You'll likely notice as you watch it that things have been removed. I want to instruct you that the fact that things have been removed is not any concern of yours, and that you shouldn't speculate about what was removed or why it was removed or what might have been there that the court instructed. Understand that it's been done at my direction. And again, concern yourself with what's being demonstrated to you, not what might have also been there. Okay? Thank you all. Mr. Fawcett, the state may demonstrate the evidence that they choose.
the thing. I don't quite remember if the last time was, because I remember, like, she would come and go, okay? And would say that it wasn't like, we're happy-go-lucky. She's sitting right here one day, and then she was up and gone. And I don't know if that's the way.
So would you describe your relationship as tumultuous, or like on again, off again?
It was rocky there towards the end, mainly I think because it was her family so far trying to get back in her head and trying to make her think things and do things. And
Like what?
man, she never had a relationship with her sister at all. And then there towards the end, I guess everybody has a need to want, family and want to feel loved and want that type of thing. And I think there towards the end, maybe she tried a little to try to get back with him or to do what. But I don't think it was near what they made it seem like, that she was there all the time, or she leave them cards or pictures. And I know that did happen sometimes. She did, spend that time. But the struggle that we had, we had a common goal of what we were trying to accomplish. We had several blocks in the road.
Which was to go to California.
Just to get away.
Where was the kids at and all this?
She didn't want Norman in the house. She didn't want her to be raised like she was in there. There was no, we knew that her name was bad and that anybody could feel in our care in Indiana.
Okay, so when was the last time you saw her?
But the last actual time I remember was like, I woke up and she was gone. Like we were in the middle of the night and she left. And I don't know if that was the last time or the last time when I dropped her off at the train station to go to work. If it was the exact. I don't
Do you
remember.
remember telling Detective Calhoun that the last time you saw her, you were driving up to your house on Brookline and saw her walking down the street? And that was the last time you saw her?
I don't remember saying that, but it's possible.
Okay.
I just don't.
So that, basically you said that was the last time you saw her, that she said she was going to a train station and she was leaving. But something to that effect. I'm not saying verbatim that's what you said, but it was something along those lines. Okay.
I'll give you that.
But does that sound like it's accurate?
Again, it could be.
Okay.
I don't know.
But you remember that incident, or can you recall that happening almost about the home, driving up and her walking down the road? Does that ring any bells?
I mean, that's usually the way it happens because we only had one car.
Okay.
If there
So she
was,
was walking to the train station to try to go to work or something?
or I give her a ride, or she, sometimes she just wanted to walk.
Okay.
The train station, we're not talking about that train station was far away. We're talking about here, like to be the road.
Right, I got you. Yeah, no, within the city, so I understand. But talking about that specifically, do you remember that day specifically? Did you remember?
Why is that relevant?
Well, I would like to ask you, what was she wearing? Do you remember? Did she have a purse with her?
I can't remember that.
So you don't, but the last time you saw her, when you came back home and she wasn't there, where was her stuff? She didn't have a car, she couldn't move it, so it was still there in the house?
I don't understand. I mean, if she left it just like that, there was only like just a small. I mean, kind of the same thing I did. I mean, when I lost my job and moved, my grandparents were going to sell the house, everything. When I left, I didn't take hard enough. I don't live in Walker, so it's whatever little.
After the last time you saw her, or that when she left, did you tell her family? Did you tell your family? You didn't tell her that your wife left?
I mean, she had left many times before that. When she would leave to go, I never knew that was the last time I was going to see her. If I did, I would have, freaking kept her there.
After like a month or two, you think that was...
After a while, I was thinking that she had split and moved on. I mean, there was, she was maybe seeing the guy and everything that was up there, or I know that she was living with in Buford or Joe. I can't remember the last one with Buford and Peachtree Corners.
Was she seeing somebody else?
I don't know if she was seeing somebody else, but there was this dude, and I want to say his girlfriend, that sometimes that she would stay with them in like a common lodge out that way.
And how does she know these people?
She worked with them.
Work with the girl or the guy?
I want to say the guy and the girl both worked there, but I could be wrong. I know the guy worked there, but I know that it was a couple, because then there was one time that they had called me and said that they were moving and she had to go do something, and then she had to do something else.
And this was before the last time you saw her, right?
Well, that's
That's what I'm saying. I'm just wondering.
all that was
I'm not misunderstanding you.
Right.
I'm not trying to trick you or confuse you.
No.
I just want you to remember.
I'm trying to figure it out.
If you were there, I was. So that's why. And if I want to clarify, I just want you to be accurate. All right. So a year goes by. You still don't tell anybody that she's gone.
I'm figuring that she's already done. I mean, we were always talking about changing her name and doing all. She had the stuff there.
Right.
And she got to the point where she was unhappy with me. I'm not trying to push myself in anybody's life that doesn't want me there. I mean, look at my daughter and everything that's going on there. I tried to push. And maybe looking back and saying, I was wrong. All the way around with both of them. Maybe I should try to push more and try to do it with.
You said you lost your job, and with the job at the last company, why did you lose your job?
Man, this guy, now, there was a lot of things going on right there with that. But, and I do now the same thing pretty much I did then. I mean, I worked on Volkswagen and things on the side. And there was a guy there, I don't know who stole the thing, there was a saw that was missing. And I can tell you that the exact guy that I borrowed this tool from, everything there, I didn't steal their saw. Period.
Why did they fire you?
Because he said I stole the saw. Because their saw was missing, and I lived around the corner, and he drove past my house, and he seen the back of the Volkswagen right there, the top was cut off.
So he thought because you cut something off your car that
And I thought, look, I don't know anything about it. And then there was that, and then there was something where I drove through the toll plaza thing on 400. There was just a bunch of little things, and that was just the last straw.
How many you drove through the toll plaza?
There used to be a thing where you could go through it.
Right.
And I was under the understanding, yes.
Okay. You were.
I was under the understanding that, the thing was tangible, and there was just a bunch of little things. And that was just the last straw. There was nothing, there was no.
They just let you go.
Right.
They didn't file any charges.
Well, man, I didn't do it, and it goes there where I borrowed stuff, I tried to tell them whatever, but like I said, the last straw is the last straw, but
Did you ever go up to the Waffle House and get an altercation with the mail?
I don't remember. I saw that on the internet. I don't remember that.
You guys said you came up there to beat you up.
And it seems like I would remember that, but I don't know.
You driving a yellow Volkswagen?
I never had yellow.
Never color yellow.
Right.
But you never yellow.
Never. No, I've never had yellow. I have a thing against yellow cars, actually.
Okay. All right. What do you think happened to this?
Man, every which way I think about it, it has to go back. If her parents didn't do it directly, it had to be something indirectly around them. I would beat my brain in.
So when you found out that a body was found just around the corner from where you were, and that the body had been dismembered with a saw,
I didn't know that the body was dismembered with a saw at all.
you know the body was dismembered?
I heard that. Nobody ever said a saw. I didn't hear about
autopsy
it.
report said.
Nobody ever gave me an autopsy. Nobody said that to me. I didn't know that until it was on the internet. Honest to God, I mean.
So what motive would her family have to kill?
I mean, so that's kind of strange that they got away with this stuff for all these years, and then all of a sudden, right, as we split up and doing this right here, and all of a sudden he ends up guilty. I don't know if she came to them needing money, or...
Do you think it's likely that her own family murdered her up and cut her up?
Man, her own family killed her family and friends.
Yeah, I know he committed murder, but that's...
So his family and friends.
Well, but why would he kill her? What which he had to kill her.
No, we knew what he did. Her dad was like one of our.
So you weren't worried about him coming after you? I mean, he was going to cut up his own daughter.
How would he come after me? I didn't do anything. I didn't come in. Here's what I'm saying, okay? I don't know if she needed money or and they come to him and threatened him in any kind of way, and they did. Maybe they were drunk, and one thing that I don't know. Anything I say at this point is speculation because I don't know. But I feel like that hell, if there's serial killers that have killed their family and friends, and something happens to their family. Okay, first of all,
serial killers operate those. It's kind of unusual, but okay.
Let's talk about this, okay?
Well, I'm not here to talk about. I'll deal with their family and
Right.
speculation.
Well, let's look at the facts. Facts. You said that she was put in bags.
I didn't say that.
Well, that's what it says on the internet, that she was
This is
in
a lot. I didn't say it.
so was she put in bags?
Well, I said that.
Look, we're being straight up with you. I'm trying to help you. I'm trying to
From
work
what
this
I
out.
understand, from what I understand, the body parts had washed out of an area onto the street. Now, there were bags recovered there, so could you make the assumption that they may have been in bags? Yes. But I don't know. I wasn't there to see, so I can't.
Nobody has been straight up with me on this, okay? And everything that I'm learning is basically through the internet. And we all know how the internet lies, and it's a whole
I
thing.
agree with you 100%.
Everything that the internet said about me living under a different name, trying to hide me, that is a lie.
And that's why I'm not asking you about that, because I'm not going to go off some speculation from the internet.
Just for the record,
12 minutes and 31 seconds.
Your Honor, for the record, that stopped at 12 minutes and 31 seconds. And we'll proceed with testimony. Now, Detective Shepard, we've just heard the interview. That was the interview you've been testifying about?
Yes, sir.
And at the conclusion of that interview, was the defendant free to go about his way?
Yes, he was.
All right. Did you get the answers that you were looking for, or the information that you were looking for related to the saw in question?
I did.
And what about information you inquired as to whether or not he actually looked for his wife?
I did.
And as you were investigating the case, was that just looking at what you would expect? Was that what you expected Christopher Wolfenbarger to do? Did you expect him to look for Melissa Wolfenbarger?
Absolutely. It's a red flag, a giant red flag for me. I would expect for a husband to look for their missing wife, and that's what he did not do.
All right. And now that interview is in 2021, and do you continue your investigation after that?
Yes.
And in the course of continuing your investigation, do you attempt to continue to interview witnesses?
Yes.
At this point, had you located Thomas Dixon?
Yes.
All right. And what year did you locate Thomas Dixon?
I just recently was able to sit down with Thomas Dixon.
Okay. Well, specifically in 2021, were you able to locate Thomas Dixon?
No, he had a lot of different addresses, and every address that I checked, he was not there anymore.
Okay. So you looked in multiple places. Is that your testimony?
All over North Georgia, yes.
And that was at the beginning of in 2021 when you started?
Correct.
And your testimony is that very recently you spoke to Thomas Dixon. Is that also correct?
Yes.
And when did you actually speak with Thomas Dixon?
I would say maybe a couple of weeks ago.
Okay. Did that impact your ability to proceed with the investigation, being able to locate certain witnesses in particular, Mr. Dixon?
Yes, it's always a good impact when I can actually get hands on a witness and talk to him face to face.
Did you make any attempts to locate Miss Diane Perot?
I did.
And were you successful in that?
I believe Ms. Perot is deceased.
Okay. Is that what your investigation revealed?
Correct.
And is that one of the common issues the police department faces when investigating cold cases?
Yes, every year that the case gets cold, it's potential to lose witnesses and involved parties.
Okay. At any point, do you present your investigation to the DA's office for an indictment decision?
Yes.
And what year do you do that?
Just recently, last year.
Okay, the 2024?
Correct.
And after an indictment, what happens after an indictment?
So once a warrant has been obtained and it's been indicted, of course, we assign all of our outstanding warrants to our fugitive unit.
Okay. And you familiar with Sergeant O'Hare?
Correct.
And who was Sergeant O'Hare in relationship to this case?
He was the investigator in charge of apprehending Christopher.
Okay. Do you look to see how a person responds when they're confronted or confronted by law enforcement, in particular with an arrest warrant?
Yes.
Do you look to see if that person is cooperative or if they attempt to get away or do something else?
Yes.
And did you have an impression in this case as whether or not the defendant was cooperative?
No, the defendant was not cooperative in this case.
What do you mean by that?
I understand that at the time of his apprehension, he hid in a makeshift cupboard behind an appliance inside of his home. And it took him maybe 30 minutes to find him.
And why was that significant?
Well, it's significant because he obviously made an attempt to evade arrest. And I thought that was kind of odd because it's almost like it was anticipation that it was coming.
Thank you all. Please be seated. Detective, I'll just remind you that before we took our lunch break, you were sworn in and that you continue to be under oath, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Mr. Samuel, questions for this witness?
Detective Shepard, my name is Don Samuel. I don't believe we've ever met before.
I've met you in passing before.
The second one to say that. You joined the cold case squad in 2020, did I get that right?
Approximately, yes.
Okay. And when did you pick up Calhoun's reports and start looking at this case?
2021.
Okay. So in 2021, we are essentially 23 years after for example, the first thing you testified about, I think, was the July TPO, right?
Correct.
Okay. Obviously, you weren't there then. You didn't have, contemporaneous evidence of what happened on that day, right? You didn't interview any of the witnesses.
That's correct.
That led to the TPO, correct?
Correct.
And when I say TPO, I'm talking about a temporary protective order.
That's correct.
And you introduced some exhibits this morning. Yes, this morning, dealing with that TPO, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So what you learned from reading Calhoun's reports and what led you to think the TPO was important was that there was an argument, correct? There was a dispute?
Yes, there was a physical dispute that resulted in Melissa Wolfenbarger's injuries.
It resulted in?
Her injuries?
Okay. Did you interview someone named Perone who was involved in that?
No, I never got a chance to interview Ms. Braun.
Okay. And did you talk to the law enforcement officer who went to the scene, whose name is Sutton, I believe?
No, every officer during that time, by the time I received the case, pretty much retired. But I was referring to his actual police reports that were documented.
Well, he came here. It wasn't that hard to find him. He came here and testified. Did you ever talk to him?
No, sir, I never was able to talk to officers.
Were you aware that he said he never saw any bruises on her back?
The only thing I had to refer to was an actual police report that he documented when the incident occurred.
Right. Well, he didn't document what he saw. And when he testified, he said, I didn't lift up her shirt or look at anything on her back. I didn't see any. In fact, he said she had some bruises on her legs.
To counsel testifying.
I'm cross-examining him.
Yeah, I'm going to overrule the objection.
I have no direct knowledge to his testimony when he testified in here.
So if, in fact, his testimony is different than what you said this morning, obviously you don't question his credibility when he came here and testified under oath?
I think Officer Sutton will have to be the one to speak on that. As far as his credibility, I can refer to the documents that were documented in an official police report.
Okay. And do you know from the official police report whether the officer or anybody interviewed Mr. Wolfenbarger that night?
Not sure. I don't have any reports that stating that either.
Or Mr. Perone that night?
There are no police reports that's documenting that.
Okay. So you have Sutton's police report, which is inconsistent with the testimony he gave to the jury, and that's it as far as what led to the temporary protective order.
Again, I can't testify to Officer Sutton's testimony that he testified in here. Only thing I have to go by is what he documented in his police report.
Okay. All right. Now, as a result of whatever happened that day in July something like 22nd, right, 1998, Ms. Wolfenbarger was encouraged to take out a TPO, correct?
Yes, after she was assaulted and dragged by Christopher Wolfenbarger and received the injuries. Usually when there's a domestic dispute, we always refer to the victim in that domestic. That's an option that they can go and seek as a temporary protective order for further protection.
Can I ask you to do me a favor?
Yes,
when
sir.
I ask you a question, you can answer yes or no. Okay?
Cool? Okay.
All right?
Yes, sir.
If you think it's a deceptive answer and you need to explain it, that's fine. But, you don't know what happened that night. You just know what's in the police report, right?
Correct. The only thing I know is what's documented in the police report.
Okay. By the way, did you even try to find Officer Sutton?
I have the official police reports that I can refer to, and that's usually what happens. A lot of cold cases, we don't reach out to those the officers that officially responded to the first scene. We go by the police reports.
Okay. So at any rate, it was customary to refer Ms. Wolfenbarger to get a TPO, correct? A temporary protective order.
Yes, sir. Anytime there's a domestic dispute and the victim of that domestic dispute.
Sir, I just asked you a yes/no question. She was referred to get a TPO, correct?
Yes, she was correct.
You want to make a speech every time I ask you a question, or just say yes or no if you can, all right?
Are you asking me, sir?
Not really. So she takes out a TPO on what day?
We have to refer to the actual document again if we want to get the exact date. Thank you.
Some of those are not in evidence in full, you may remember, but do you have the date that the TPO was taken out?
As soon as I find a TPO, I can give you the exact date. It looks like it was July 2nd, 1998. July 22nd, I'm sorry.
22nd, okay.
Correct.
And then what a TPO does is, that's just ask the court to set down a hearing, correct?
But TPO is, again, another form of documentation along with the police report where they documented through the court that this person that's filing the TPO needs protection from the person that they're trying to get protection from.
Right. But it has to be followed very quickly by a court hearing, correct?
Well, that depends on the court.
Okay.
But once it's filed and it's enacted, the person, we have a court hearing, they're served, and at that point they're served with that temporary protective order. They have strict orders not to violate that temporary protective order.
How long did the TPO in this case exist before they went to court for the first time?
Do you have the documents? Okay. Was dismissed on July 29th, 1998,
So about 1 week later. Correct?
according to the documents. That's correct.
You have the rule nisi there?
I do.
Okay. Rule nisi is just a Latin term that lawyers use to say, come to court, right? Show cause, come to court,
Okay.
right?
I don't speak Latin, but I'm assuming if you're saying that, that's correct.
I appreciate your confidence in me. So they go to court and the TPO is dismissed, correct?
That is correct.
And that doesn't happen without a judge sitting on the bench, correct?
Correct. And usually when it's dismissed, one of the parties are not showing up. Just like when any court case, when the party doesn't show up, it's dismissed.
But every party's here for this. For the TPO dismissal, everybody's in court.
Okay.
In fact, were you aware from talking to people that the judge encouraged them to talk to each other? They talked to each other, and then the judge dismissed the TPO.
I'm not surprised in court hearings.
I didn't ask you if you were surprised. I asked, are you aware that that's what happened?
I'm not aware.
Well, did you ever interview anybody about what happened in that court proceeding?
It's pertaining to the TPO?
Yes.
No, sir. The TPO is not related. It's not part of my murder investigation. It documents of first form of interaction that documents the domestic violence between Christopher Wolfenbarger and Melissa. As far as a homicide investigation, it's not relevant going to the homicide. So there was no reason for you to follow up for it pertaining to this domestic.
Well, are you saying that all the domestic things involved in July 1998 has nothing to do with the investigation of the homicide?
The July 1998 incident is very critical, and it documents and it landmarks a tumultuous relationship between Christopher and Melissa. So it is very important.
You just said it's not relevant. I'm confused between your last two answers. You said you didn't follow up anything about the background of it, anything about what happened in court, anything about any of that, because it's not relevant to the homicide, but then you say it's the landmark most important thing.
That is correct. So when you document an incident domestic, it's documented. It's a homicide investigation. We continue with our homicide investigation. We have reliability when we refer to the police reports, which is official documents. That's documented in time. There's no need for me to follow up on the domestic side because we have it clearly documented in the police reports. My investigation continues from the homicide on.
Okay. You don't disagree, though, that even the documents show that the judge approved the dismissal of the TPO. The judge signs it.
And these are legal documents, and I definitely approve of it.
Okay. You then talked about having interviewed Mr. Wolfenbarger in, the first time was in 2021, so now we're 23 years later after the TPO. 23 years after the TPO, you interview him on May 5th, and I think we listened to that tape, correct?
Correct.
2021.
Correct.
Okay, so we don't have anything else at this point between then and 2021, right?
As far as that pertains to what?
Your direct contact.
No, that's the first time I came in contact with Chris.
Okay.
That's correct.
And you meet with him, and you talked to him, and you said it was a voluntary meeting, correct?
Yes, it was in his home, in his living room.
Right. So there was no coercion, no handcuffs. You didn't threaten him, but he voluntarily welcomed you in, gave you a seat at the table, sat down, and talked with you.
Correct.
Totally
Non-custodial.
Totally voluntary.
Correct.
Totally cooperative.
Correct.
Okay. And when you were done with that interview, you packed up your tape recorder and you left, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And then you're continuing to review Calhoun's reports during this time, correct?
Correct.
Okay. In that tape that we heard this morning, Mr. Wolfenbarger told you about a rocky relationship that he had. In part, he attributes it, or perhaps in large part, he attributes it to Melissa Wolfenbarger's parents, correct?
I don't know if he attributed the rockiness to the parents, but he did admit to having a rocky relationship. I don't know how he would attribute it to his parents. As
Not
far
his
as
parents,
right
her-
relationship. Her parents.
Her
Correct.
parents.
Correct.
You don't think he was attributing it to that?
No, I'm pretty sure he was not attributing to that. I did not interpret that as his parents being, or her parents being a reason why they have a rocky relationship. That's solely between those two.
But clearly, he didn't get along with her parents.
He stated that. That's correct.
Okay. Well, I mean, that wouldn't come as a surprise, would it?
I'm not surprised if anybody's in a tumultuous, rocky, violent relationship. I haven't seen a couple that's had a good relationship with any parents involved in that.
Well, but you know that's not what I'm talking about here. Here I'm talking about the fact that his in-laws had murdered 5 people. Do you have in-laws? Are you married? Can you imagine your wife's parents killed 5 people, threw them in a river?
Hang on.
To the form of the question, it's improper, Judge. I would ask that the jury be instructed to disregard the form of the question.
I'll withdraw it. But it doesn't. Can I withdraw it?
You can withdraw it.
Does it shock you that someone would say they have a rocky relationship with their in-laws, given what you know are the facts of this case?
I've been doing this job almost a quarter century. I talk to murderers and deal with murders on a daily basis. People from murderers' families. That has nothing to do with what they have to do in their relationship. People can't help who they're related to. Their relationship was their relationship, had nothing to do with their parents.
Okay. So you don't find it surprising that he had a difficult time relating to the family, to the parents who had committed 5 murders, thrown them in a river. There was a baby who died in their home and convicted of concealing the death. None of those things.
None of that came out in the form of evidence during the course of this trial. The counsels have interjected things that are not in evidence and asking questions based on things that aren't in fact. I'd ask that the court instruct counsel not to do that.
Mr. Samuel?
I don't think that's accurate.
I think I've heard the 2 things that you specifically referred to. I've heard testimony about them in this trial, so I'm going to overrule your objection. Go ahead.
But your position is, it's like Tolstoy said, every unhappy family is unhappy in their own way, right?
So
It's just another unhappy family.
So because Melissa was from this type of family, that gave her permission to be victim of a domestic violence? I don't think so.
That rhetorical question doesn't answer my question.
Again, because she was a victim of her family and their wrongdoings does not give Christopher or anybody a right to place her in an abusive relationship. So
I'm going to ask you to stop the answer because my question had nothing to do with whether Mr. Wolfenbarger had the right to do anything. And he denies doing anything. So your answer to that, you can give a closing argument if you want, tell the lawyers to go home. Otherwise, I'd ask you to answer my questions.
Can you repeat your question, sir?
Yes. His in-laws were serial killers, right? And were throwing family members they were killing, throwing their bodies in the river. Melissa's sister had a baby who died at birth and was thrown in the hamper. And your only answer to me is that doesn't give Chris a right to do something?
Absolutely. Christopher does not have a right to abuse Melissa based off of her family history. That is correct.
What makes you think that he was using that as a right?
I'm just basing this off your argument that you're making right now, sir.
I have never said he had a right to do anything. And as I just said, he denies doing anything.
Are you asking me a question?
When was the next time you interviewed Chris?
I have it documented in my reports.
When's the next time you interviewed him?
Can we refer to my reports, the exact date?
You have your reports up there?
No, sir. These are the exhibits that you left.
Okay. Did you interview him again in February of 2023?
Is that documented in my report?
It's documented in my notes.
As soon as I can confirm it's documented in my report, then.
You have his report.
Do you know exactly what page this documentation is going to be in my reports?
Detective Shepard, you testified this morning about the different interviews you have. You didn't require counsel to give you page numbers.
Well, if we were going to refer to dates, then I would like that the notes that you took from my case file, if you can give me the exact date so I can refer to it.
I just told you the date. It was February 2023.
Okay, on my page in my notes, can you give me the page?
Forget it.
Okay.
We'll move to a different topic. Are you familiar with the circumstances of Melissa and Chris Wolfenbarger moving to Atlanta?
No, I'm not familiar with that.
Do you know when they moved to Atlanta?
No, sir, I do not.
Do you know where they lived when they moved to Atlanta?
They stayed off of Brookline.
Okay. Do you know who owned that property?
I believe Christopher's mother owned that property.
Okay. And had they been to Atlanta before or in the Atlanta area before that?
I'm not sure.
And did Melissa end up having a series of jobs working at Waffle House when she was in Atlanta?
Correct.
And had friends, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you know that from talking to some of the friends, correct? And talking to people at the Waffle House, correct?
Correct. And also, Christopher's statement was that she worked at the Waffle House and had friends at the Waffle House.
Right. And she wasn't isolated in Atlanta, was she?
I'm not going to say isolated, but there was some, according to the reports that documented that they didn't always see her, but they always saw Christopher. She was always.
Who's the they in that sentence?
Some of the witnesses that was interviewed and that's documented in the case file.
Didn't Miss Cooley talk about how they would play all the time? She'd see Chris all the time?
I'm sorry, you say Miss Cooley?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not familiar with a Miss Cooley.
Okay. Did you read Calhoun's reports?
I did.
Did you read them before you came into court here?
Yes, sir, but I'm not familiar with a Miss Cooley.
Okay. How many times did you talk to the folks at the glass company?
In person, I was able to interview them one time.
Okay. And did you determine from talking to Mr. Brock that ultimately Chris was let go because of a car accident involving one of the company's trucks?
Yes, also the saw that he borrowed.
Is that a yes or a no?
Yes, he also borrowed a saw that he never returned.
He borrowed a saw that he never returned.
Those were their words, correct, that he never returned the saw.
Okay. Those weren't your words this morning. Are you aware of that?
Correct. Mr. Brooks, they said that
Brock.
Mr. Brock, thank you, that he borrowed the saw along with some type of violation that he did with the vehicle. They couldn't prove that he stole the saw, but they let him go as a result.
Okay. You talked about talking with Thomas Dixon, right?
That is correct.
Okay. He'd spent, 10 years in prison between the time of 99, 2000 and the time you met with him, right?
Yes, he was in and out of prison. At that time, he was currently getting his life together. So that is correct.
And then you talked about the time of Chris's arrest, right?
Correct. Yes.
And you said that he was not cooperative at the time of his arrest, correct?
That is correct. He hid in the cupboard that he built inside of his home, and it took, I believe, fugitive about 30 minutes or plus to find him.
Yeah. He had met with Calhoun how many times? Voluntarily meeting with Calhoun.
It's more than one time.
How many times did he meet with Detective Stott, who was here this morning, voluntarily, either went to his police department or met with him and was fully cooperative with him?
I have no direct knowledge of Detective Stott or his interactions with Christopher.
Okay. You haven't read his reports?
I have no direct knowledge of Detective Stott or his interactions with Christopher.
Okay, but my question was, have you read his reports?
No, and that, I don't have any firsthand knowledge of his interactions with Christopher.
Okay. What about Calhoun's reports
Correct. Yes, I have.
and Mr. Wolfenbarger's cooperation with him?
Yes, yes. Spoke with him multiple times. There is one time that he met with Detective Calhoun, and Detective Calhoun advised that he stole a search warrant that he had. He had to go back and get it from Christopher. That was one interaction that he had with Christopher. So I wouldn't categorize or describe his whole interactions as cooperative.
At the time of his arrest, how many law enforcement officers went to his house?
You have to refer to the fugitive report, and they should have a list of every law enforcement officer that was assisted in that arrest.
Do you know how many people went to the house?
Offhand, I do not know, but usually when you're trying to apprehend a fugitive for murder, there's going to be a great number of law enforcement.
So if Detective O'Hare was in here yesterday or a few days ago and said there were 30 officers who went to the house, you wouldn't question that, would you?
That sounds about right. And it's always a tactical safe way or a way to apprehend
And
a
he's
fugitive that's wanted for murder.
said most of them were armed with assault weapons
That sounds about right, correct.
and helmets and gear and flak jackets and all of that, correct?
That is correct.
Yeah. And used a battering ram to get into the... Well, I'm going to ask you, did they use a battering ram to
I
get
have
in?
no direct knowledge on how they made entry into the house. From what I do believe, I do understand that his wife, or at the time what was described as wife, answered the door and she lied and said he wasn't there. And then they was able to make entry and find him. I don't have any knowledge of a ram being used.
Okay. But that is inconsistent with all the cooperation he showed you and Calhoun and Stott over the course of 20 years of
Okay.
answering all your questions, meeting with you, coming to your office, correct?
Incorrect. Whenever you're trying to apprehend a fugitive wanted for a violent crime, which is murder, then you're going to go in the most tactical force used, and that's to ensure the safety on both sides of law enforcement and the civilians that we're trying to obtain.
Yeah, I wasn't meaning to say that the officers were doing anything wrong. I was going to say, if he was uncooperative at that time, it was inconsistent with all the cooperation he had shown you and Stott and Calhoun and Kelly, and, anybody else who he'd been interviewed by with over the years.
So based on the way you framed your question, inconsistent mean that he hid in the cupboard, and he did not hide when we went to go talk to him, but he did hide when they arrived for his arrest. That's correct. He did hide when that arrest happened, and he did speak with us in person.
Yeah, and he had voluntarily given pubic hair to Calhoun.
Correct.
He had voluntarily given other hair samples at other times he was requested, correct?
Correct. And also,
My question was just a yes or no. He also gave DNA evidence when requested, correct? Buccal swabs.
that is correct.
He also, there was the luminol was used in his house, correct?
Correct. 3 years after the incident, though, and the house had been remodeled. So
And all those were done in a cooperative manner. Some you had to get a search warrant for, but others he did in a cooperative manner.
So the last incident that you're referring to is the luminol. A search warrant had to be obtained. So I don't know. I don't have any direct knowledge of interaction at that time that Christopher had with the detectives performing that search warrant.
Well, he wasn't even living there when the luminol was given out.
Okay, so that answers the question. He did.
And also during the course of the questioning by Mr. Fawcett here, you repeatedly talked about things that you found important, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Did you find it important that the pubic hair that he gave to the officers and that was tested was not shown to be consistent with what was found in the bags?
All DNA is important, but also I had to keep in mind that this case was older. Also, I got to keep in mind that the condition of the body parts that were found, and also over time, those things fade. So we're going to do it just to check the boxes and make sure we're going to cross our T's and dot our I's. But also in the back of my mind, I do know that the DNA was going to be compromised because it was compromised.
But the pubic hair was analyzed and was found to be not consistent with what was found in the bag.
So the way I remember the report saying it was dissimilar, and also pubic hairs and hairs degrade over time, and that's the way the report read. By the time this particular item was tested, years had passed it. So over time, DNA does degrade, and pubic hairs and DNA items such as that will degrade.
And you know from the other officer who was with you earlier today and sitting outside that he had done DNA from what was found on the bag, and all of that came back negative.
Are you referring to Detective Stein?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Detective Stein and myself, we did work on this case earlier, and he was definitely a big part of collecting that DNA for further testing.
And it came back as not being consistent with Mr. Wolfenbarger's DNA.
That's correct.
Okay. And you know about the paint chips that were found inside the bag that didn't match anything in the house.
That's correct, but also at the time when they did serve the search warrant at the house had been remodeled. That particular area had been remodeled, so it was not going to be uncommon that those paint chips were going to be dissimilar to one another.
Right. So do I gather that all the evidence that exonerates him, that shows that he's not the person who perpetrated the crime, you consider to be insignificant?
That's incorrect. If you're referring to just physical evidence in that manner, no, but you still have other evidence that goes in line and testimonies that go in line with this case.
I'm just asking about the physical evidence. You downplay the significance of all of that, don't you?
Can never downplay physical evidence. Physical evidence is important, but what you have to keep in mind that over time, physical evidence degrades. And this case is a prime example of that.
You know that cadaver dogs were sent out to the house, correct?
Okay, I heard of an incident. I don't have any direct knowledge of cadaver dogs or APD using any cadaver dogs.
Okay. There's no evidence of, first of all, there was no saw found in the house or in the house where he was arrested years later, correct?
No, the only reference to a saw is the one Christopher admitted that he was in possession of, or he was accused of being in possession of while he was let go from his job.
Right. There's no evidence where the dismemberment occurred.
Absolutely. There's no evidence where it could have occurred anywhere.
When you were questioning Chris in the 2021 that we listened to, you asked him to say who he thought had killed his wife, correct?
I believe we asked him what did he think happened.
Right. And he responded, of course, he initially said the family, correct? Her family, her parents.
Correct. He wanted.
And then he said, he then said, but listen, I'm just speculating, correct?
Well, we have to go in order. If to answer the question, he pointed all the blame to the father and the family. And what he's referring to when he's saying speculating, he's speculating on different parts of the interview and different parts of the statement that he made.
Yeah. One second, Your Honor.
Sure.
Detective Shepard, you were testifying as to the collection of DNA and the degradation of DNA over time. You recall that?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, did you have an opportunity to view the conditions of that the remains of Melissa Wolfenbarger were located in,
Yes, I did.
and photographs and the actual scene itself?
Yes, I did.
And did you receive any indication in your reports of any weather conditions that would have existed during around the time that her remains were discovered?
Yes, there was a heavy downpour, a lot of rain in the area.
And is there, in your investigation, have you worked cases where you've been able to successfully collect the presence of DNA?
It's a crap shot. Sometimes I may not. In this particular case, when the particular items that we're referring to that get the DNA when it's compromised, like her body parts was in, like you might as well say, like a soup in those bags, definitely know they're going to be compromised.
You say like a soup. What do you mean by that?
So when it's in a plastic bag, there's a lot of rain. It was in a junkyard. It's a lot of areas, so it's a lot of other things that can come into contact with her remains of compromise, along with a natural weather event like rain.
And we're talking about the time period of April through June. Is that a period of time you would consider to be a particularly hot or particularly cold period of time?
That's a time of the year that when the seasons are changing, we usually get a lot of rain. In Georgia and Atlanta, that's the time when the weather started changing, the trees started blooming. So yes, we're going to get a lot of rain during that time.
All right. And also heat, does that have an impact on the ability to collect DNA samples?
It does, but that's not going to stop us from trying to collect them.
All right. Now, you testified as to information you received specifically as it relates to any FBI determinations as to the quality or degradation of hair that you would have that would have been in connection with this case. Do you recall when those reports would have been created?
Yes, I have it documented in the report. I believe her name was Dr. Cornsberry.
Okay. And did you have a copy of Dr. Cornsberg's report in your in Discovery?
Yes.
Do you recall that date offhand?
Not offhand, no, I do not.
If you were to review a copy of her report, would that refresh your recollection as to that report?
Yes, it will.
You can review that to yourself.
Yes.
All right. After having reviewed that, is your recollection refreshes to the date of the report?
Sorry. Yes, the date of the report is October 30th, 2007.
And is that when the police department received information about the quality of samples that you were going to either make a decision about further testing?
Correct.
And based on the information about the quality of the hair sample, was it either Calhoun's decision or your decision to send off for additional testing based off of the information that you received?
Detective Calhoun's.
Okay. But ultimately, when you reviewed the case, you decided your decision was the same as Calhoun. Is that safe to say?
Correct.
And in connection with your interview of the defendant in 2021, had you previously either spoken to Detective Calhoun and or viewed any statements that the defendant made with Calhoun?
Yes.
And were those statements important for comparing and contrasting any similarities and differences between those two statements?
Yes.
And if you found, I guess, things that you viewed as being dissimilar, would that have been significant in your investigation?
Yes.
In particular, questions related to when the last time would have been that Christopher Wolfenbarger would have observed Melissa alive. Specifically that question. You recall asking the defendant that question in 21?
Yes. It gave conflicting answers. One answer was that he dropped her off and she just walked away. The next time he said that they went to Taco Bell and then he dropped her at a train station.
Okay. And I want to refer you to a previously admitted exhibit. I believe it's 73. Okay. Your Honor, with the court's permission, this exhibit 73, which has been tendered into evidence, I'd ask the court's permission to play portions 24-20 through 29.
Can you tell me what 73 is?
It is the interview with Detective Scott.
Connected to DHCPL 540039F10.
Hang on just one second. Can you come here?
Heard of anything that's seen her following that or even around you know, when we were going to take her back from up there out of that situation. She said at one point that she was possibly saying that the shower lodge. Yeah, that's where her friend lived at. That, they tried to call her. I went up there and I picked her up from there one night. But she apparently, I don't know if she was in love with this guy or what the, you know, what too much about it. Did you know his last name was? I didn't even know the first thing I said. I could remember. Wait, no, that sounds right, yeah. I remember he had curly hair. And I ain't trying to be rude, but I got to go back to real bad. If I go pee.
Now, we've concluded the tape.
2856.
2856. All right. Now, Detective Shepard, do you recall in your interview with the defendant, we've just listened to a portion of the interview with Detective Stott and Detective Calhoun. Did you get an opportunity to listen to that as the jury was playing it?
Yes,
Was the
sir,
jury
I
was
did.
listening? Okay.
I did.
And do you recall in the interview that we just listened to, did you hear the portion of the interview when the defendant indicates last time being March or April that he saw Melissa Wolfenbarger?
Yes.
And that was the next year, which appears it would have been 1999. You recall that?
Yes.
And is that also the same time period where Melissa's remains were discovered?
Yes.
And is there anything different about the time period, March or April of 1999, where the defendant indicates he saw Melissa Wolfenbarger, and the time when he told you in 2021?
The exact date, do you have a report that I can refer to? The exact date did he?
I believe you have your reports up there with you.
Yeah, so it was May 5th, 2021, when me and Sergeant Layton interviewed Christopher.
Okay. All right. Do you recall the defendant indicating that the last time he saw Miss Melissa Wolfenbarger would have been in December of 98?
Yes.
Do you recall that?
Yes.
Did that distinction between the December 1998 date that the defendant gave you and the March 99 date that the defendant gave Calhoun, was that something you factored into your investigation?
Yes, it was definitely a red flag.
Was that something you considered inconsistent?
Correct.
Your testimony, you were just testifying as to the cooperation of this defendant. You referenced an obstruction of a search warrant. Is that correct?
Correct. Regarding to Detective Calhoun?
Yes.
Yes.
And do you recall what the nature of what law enforcement or Detective Calhoun was attempting to retrieve with that search warrant?
Some DNA.
Okay. And your testimony is that there was an obstruction charge related to destroying that search warrant. Is that correct?
Yes, he stole a search warrant and then destroyed it.
You also testified as to the level of cooperation when you arrived at the defendant's residence when law enforcement arrived to effect the arrest warrant. I believe you testified that the female was dishonest about his whereabouts when law enforcement arrived. Is that also correct?
That is correct.
And did you ultimately find the defendant at the residence where that female was dishonest?
Yes, they found him in a makeshift hole in the wall that he had behind an appliance.
And you were also testifying as to the protective order and the request for dismissal. Did it come up in your investigation that on that July 29th date, Melissa Wolfenbarger's children went back with the defendant's mother, Kathy Wolfenbarger?
Yes, and around that same time frame, correct.
Did you factor in, during your course of investigation, did you also know that Kathy Wolfenbarger had custody of Melissa Wolfenbarger's children?
Yes.
And did that factor into any consideration you had as to Melissa's ability to leave the relationship?
It did, and it factored in a great deal.
What do you mean by that?
So it's pretty odd that a mother would give up her children, but it also makes it really hard in the domestic situation, a violent, tumultuous domestic situation, for them to leave when the person that's responsible for that domestic abuse parent is in charge of your children.
Okay. That's all I have, Judge.
Thank you, Mr. Samuel.
Something when you just began the redirect examination here about the weather when the skull was found.
Correct.
What was the weather that you think it was?
There were reports of the weather inside the case file. During that time frame when she went missing, that time frame, the first body part was discovered, which is her head. There was rain.
How did you just describe that rain to Mr. Fawcett?
Well, there was a downpour multiple times during that time period.
Okay, can I show you Mr. Calhoun's report?
Sure. Intermittent mist.
Intermittent mist.
Overcast, correct.
Intermittent mist is the same as a downpour?
So as we know, when it rains, it's not constantly raining as a downpour constantly, unless it's some type of hurricane or something like that in the area. I don't recall a hurricane or anything like that type of weather event at the time that that report was made, so it's not unusual for it to be misting at that time, especially after a rain.
But you weren't there. You're just going by Calhoun's reports, right?
Correct.
So you're answering Mr. Fawcett's question saying it was a downpour, but all you have is Calhoun's report that said it was misting.
Correct. As homicide detectives, that's why reports are very important. They document the incident. That's all we have to go on. Like a police report is a legal document, and we refer to those documents.
Can I approach?
Yes.
You
You
have
don't have to
it.
ask again.
The National Climate Center reports about rainfall.
Okay.
How much rain was there in April of that year?
I'm not a meteorologist, and I don't feel comfortable interpreting this weather report.
Your Honor, I'd like to tender this as evidence.
Mr. Fawcett,
No, Judge.
what is going to be the exhibit designation?
What number are we up to?
10.
D10. D10 is admitted.
Thank you. The right-hand column is the total rainfall for the month. For the month, what was the total rainfall in April?
Can you point to the item that you have circled?
Is the total.
That's what you're saying? Okay, the item that you have,
No,
For that day.
that day, sorry.
okay, item that you have circled is 0.27. What type of measurement is this, though? Is this in inches, millimeters? So that's why I don't feel comfortable with trying to interpret this.
I guess what I'm trying to ask is, what made you tell ADA Fawcett that it was a downpour, when in fact you have no evidence to support that, the scientific evidence doesn't support it, and Calhoun's report doesn't support it?
Based off the documentation from the reports and interviewing and talking to Detective Calhoun, that's the information that I gathered.
Well, we just showed you the report. It said it was misting. Didn't say anything about a downpour.
The report as far as missing, that's what Detective Calhoun documented in his report, with actually being present on the scene. But those 3 months, there's not a documentation of that. So in those 3 months, I don't think there was a drought during those 3 months, so it definitely rained. But he documented a misting on the crime scene.
So if we bring Calhoun back, he's going to reaffirm that he told you that it downpours that month?
If you bring Detective Calhoun back, I can't speak on what he's going to say. We can only go off the reports and things that are documented.
The difference in time between these inconsistent statements by Mr. Wolfenbarger about the last time he saw Melissa was how many years?
Which incident are you referring to?
What you just answered, Mr. Fawcett, on redirect.
Can you be specific, please?
There were 2 different interviews he gave. You said it was significant that they were inconsistent about the last time he saw Ms. Wolfenbarger.
Okay, so the first interview was when Detective Calhoun came in contact with the case in 2003. I interviewed Christopher in 2021.
So over the course of 18 years, the first time he said it was the end of 99, correct? The end of 98. And when he talked to you, he said it's the other way around. When he talked the first time, he said it was March or April of 98. And with you, he said, let me start over. He said it was March or April of 99 when he talked to the first officer, and he said it was the end of 98 when he talked to you, correct?
Correct, but truth is going to be consistent. It doesn't matter how much time passed. If you're telling the truth, that's going to be consistent.
Okay.
So when we hear inconsistencies, that's a red flag. Only lies become inconsistent. Truth stays consistent no matter when it's told.
Okay. Even with an 18-year memory lapse between the two.
Absolutely.
You remember where you were 18 years ago?
I do.
On this date 18 years ago?
Not on this specific day, but on this specific year and this month, I do. I can't tell you exactly where I was.
Okay. All right. And were the same questions asked of him about location on those 2 different events? 2 different times? The first time when it was Stott who was interviewing him, correct?
I'm not sure.
Okay. And did he say what street he remembered last seeing her?
Can we
He was
replay
asked about the last time you saw him on.
Are you referring
Lee
to the
Street?
statement that he made to Detective Stott?
Yes.
All right, we replay it? I'm not familiar with the
I'm not
interview
gonna
with
replay it.
Detective Stott.
Do you know today, sitting here, whether the 2 statements asked him the last time he saw her at the same location as opposed to at different locations?
I have no direct knowledge to Detective Stott. I haven't spoken with Detective Stott. The detective that was primary had this case before me, Detective Calhoun.
Okay, but just a minute ago, for ADF Fawcett, you said the 2 inconsistencies were dramatically important to you.
Yes, every inconsistency is important, especially during a homicide investigation.
But if the 2 questions are different, then they're not inconsistent, right?
That's incorrect. You can ask a question in many different ways, and the truth is going to stay the same. We find consistency. That's what we do as detectives, as homicide detectives. We talk to all type of people that lies all the time. There's one thing that's going to be consistent is the truth. So we look for consistency. When there's inconsistency, there's lies.
So if the first time he's asked, when's the last time you saw her on Lee Street, and the second time, when's the last time you saw her on a different street, if it's different times, you'd say that's an inconsistency.
I would say if it's the truth, it will be consistent.
Nothing further.
Thank you. Mr. Fawcett, anything else for this witness?
No, you are.
Okay, thank you, sir. You may step down. You're
Yes, ma'am.
excused.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
You too.